Part III of Prometheus Bound by Aeschylus, translated by Henry David Thoreau, 1817 1862. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Expatriate in Bangor, Maine. Part III. Prometheus. Unhappily my trials wouldst thou hear, to whom to die has not been fated, for this would be release from sufferings, but now there is no end of ills lying before me, until Zeus falls from sovereignty. Io. And is Zeus ever to fall from power? Prometheus. Thou wouldst be pleased, I think, to see this accident. Io. How should I not, who suffer ill from Zeus? Prometheus. That these things then are so, be thou assured. Io. By what one will the tyrant's power be robbed? Prometheus. Himself, by his own senseless counsels. Io. In what way show, if there's no harm? Prometheus. He will make such a marriage as one day he'll repent. Io. Of god or mortal? If to be spoken, tell. Prometheus. What matters which? For these things are not to be told. Io. By a wife will he be driven from the throne? Prometheus. Aye, she will bring forth a son superior to his father. Io. Is there no refuge for him from this fate? Prometheus. None, surely, till I may be released from bonds. Io. Who then is to release thee, Zeus unwilling? Prometheus. He must be some one of thy descendants. Io. How sayest thou? That my child would deliver thee from ills? Prometheus. Third of thy race, after 10 other births. Io. This oracle is not yet easy to be guessed. Prometheus. But do not seek to understand thy sufferings. Io. First proffering gain to me, do not then withhold it. Prometheus. I'll grant thee one of 2 relations. Io. What 2 propose, and give to me my choice. Prometheus. I give. Choose whether thy remaining troubles I shall tell thee clearly, or him that will release me. Chorus. Consent to do her the one favour, me the other, nor deem us undeserving of thy words. To her indeed tell what remains of wandering, and to me who will release, for I desire this. Prometheus. Since you are earnest, I will not resist to tell the whole, as much as ye ask for. To thee first, Io, vexatious wandering I will tell, which engrave on the remembering tablets of the mind, when thou hast passed the flood boundary of continents, towards the flaming orient sun travelled, passing through the tumult of the sea, until you reach the Gorgonian plains of Cisthene, where the Phorcides dwell, old virgins, 3, swan-shaped, having a common eye, one-toothed, whom neither the sun looks on with his beams, nor nightly moon ever. And near, their winged sisters 3, dragon‐scaled Gorgons, odious to men, whom no mortal beholding will have breath. Such danger do I tell thee. But hear another odious sight. Beware the Griffins, sharp‐mouthed dogs of Zeus, which bark not, and the one‐eyed Arimaspian host going on horseback, who dwell about the golden flowing flood of Pluto's channel. These go not near. But to a distant land thou'lt come, a dusky race, who near the fountains of the sun inhabit, where is the Ethiopian river. Creep down the banks of this, until thou comest to a descent, where from Biblinian mounts the Nile sends down its sacred palatable stream. This will conduct thee to the triangled land Nilean, where Io 'tis decreed thou and thy progeny shall form the distant colony. If aught of this is unintelligible to thee, and hard to be found out, repeat thy questions, and learn clearly, for more leisure than I want is granted me. Chorus. If to her aught remaining or omitted thou hast to tell of her pernicious wandering, speak. But if thou hast said all, give us the favour which we ask, for surely thou rememberest. Prometheus. The whole term of her travelling hath she heard. But that she may know that not in vain she hears me, I'll tell what before coming hither she endured. Giving this as proof of my relations, the great multitude of words I will omit, and proceed unto the very limit of thy wanderings. When, then, you came to the Molossian ground, and near the high ridge Dodona, where oracle and seat is of Thesprotian Zeus, and prodigy incredible the speaking oaks, by whom you clearly, and not enigmatically, were called the illustrious wife of Zeus, about to be, if aught of these things soothes thee. Thence, driven by the fly, you came the seaside way to the great gulf of Rhea, from which by courses retrograde you are now tempest‐tossed. But for time to come this sea‐gulf, clearly know, will be called Ionian, memorial of thy passage to all mortals. Proofs to thee are these of my intelligence, that it sees somewhat more than the apparent. But the rest to you and her in common I will tell. Having come upon the very track of former words, there is a city Canopus, last of the land, by Nile's very mouth and bank. There at length Zeus makes thee sane, stroking with gentle hand, and touching only. And, named from Zeus' begetting, thou wilt bear dark Epaphus, who will reap as much land as broad‐flowing Nile doth water. And fifth from him, a band of 50 children again to Argos shall unwilling come, of female sex, avoiding kindred marriage of their cousins. But they, with minds inflamed, hawks by doves not far left behind, will come pursuing marriages not to be pursued, but heaven will take vengeance on their bodies. For them Pelasgia shall receive by Mars, subdued with woman's hand, with night‐watching boldness. For each wife shall take her husband's life, staining a two‐edged dagger in his throat. Such 'gainst my foes may Cypris come. But one of the daughters shall love soften not to slay her bedfellow, but she will waver in her mind, and one of two things will prefer, to hear herself called timid rather than stained with blood. She shall in Argos bear a royal race. Of a long speech is need this clearly to discuss. From this seed, however, shall be born a brave, famed for his bow, who will release me from these sufferings. Such oracle my ancient mother told me, Titanian Themis. But how and by what means, this needs long speech to tell, and nothing learning wilt thou gain. Io. Ah me! Ah wretched me! Spasms again and brain‐struck madness burn me within, and a fly's dart stings me. Not wrought by fire. My heart with fear knocks at my breast, and my eyes whirl round and round, and from my course I'm borne by madness' furious breath, unable to control my tongue, while confused words dash idly 'gainst the waves of horrid woe. Chorus. Wise, wise indeed was he, who first in mind this weighed, and with the tongue expressed to marry according to one's degree is best by far, nor being a labourer with the hands, to woo those who are by wealth corrupted, nor those by birth made great. Never, never me, Fates, may you behold the sharer of Zeus' couch, nor may I be brought near to any husband from those from heaven. For I fear, seeing the virginhood of Io, not content with man, through marriage vexed with these distressful wanderings by Here. But for myself, since an equal marriage is without fear, I am not concerned lest the love of the almighty gods cast its inevitable eye on me, without war, indeed this war producing troubles. Nor do I know what would become of me, for I see not how I should escape the subtlety of Zeus. Prometheus. Surely shall Zeus, though haughty now, yet be humble, such marriage he prepares to make, which from sovereignty and the throne will cast him down obscure. And Father Kronos' curse will then be all fulfilled, which falling from the ancient seats he imprecated. And refuge from such ills none of the gods but I can show him clearly. I know these things, and in what manner. Now, therefore, being bold, let him sit trusting to lofty sounds, and brandishing with both hands his fire‐breathing weapon, for naught will these avail him, not to fall disgracefully intolerable falls. Such wrestler does he now prepare, himself against himself, a prodigy most hard to be withstood. Who indeed will invent a better flame than lightning, and a loud sound surpassing thunder, and shiver the trident, Neptune's weapon, the marine earth‐shaking ale. Stumbling upon this ill, he'll learn how different to govern and to serve. Chorus. Aye, as you hope you vent this against Zeus. Prometheus. What will be done, and also what I hope I say. Chorus. And are we to expect that any will rule Zeus? Pr. Even than these more grievous ills he'll have. Ch. How fear'st thou not, hurling such words? Pr. What should I fear, to whom to die has not been fated? Ch. But suffering more grievous still than this he may inflict. Pr. Then let him do it. All is expected by me. Ch. Those reverencing Adrastia are wise. Pr. Revere, pray, flatter each successive ruler. Me less than nothing Zeus concerns. Let him do, let him prevail this short time as he will, for long he will not rule the gods. But I see here indeed Zeus's runner, the new tyrant's drudge. Doubtless he brings some new message. Pr. Chorus, and Hermes. Hermes. To thee the sophist, the bitterly bitter, the sinner against gods, the giver of honours to ephemerals, the thief of fire, I speak. The Father commands thee to tell the marriage which thou boast, by which he falls from power, and that too not enigmatically, but each particular declare. Nor cause me double journeys, Prometheus, for thou seest that Zeus is not appeased by such. Pr. Solemn-mouthed and full of wisdom is thy speech, as of the servant of the gods. Ye newly rule, and think forsooth to dwell in griefless citadels. Have I not seen 2 tyrants fallen from these? And third I shall behold him ruling now, basest and speediest. Do I seem to thee to fear and shrink from the new gods? Nay, much and wholly I fall short of this. The way thou camest go through the dust again, for thou wilt learn naught which thou ask'st of me. Her. Aye, by such insolence before you brought yourself into these woes. Pr. Plainly know, I would not change my ill fortune for thy servitude. For better, I think, to serve this rock than be the faithful messenger of Father Zeus. Thus to insult the insulting it is fit. Her. Thou seemst to enjoy thy present state. Pr. I enjoy? Enjoying thus my enemies would I see, and thee 'mong them I count. Her. Dost thou blame me for aught of thy misfortunes? Pr. In plain words, all gods I hate, as many as well treated wrong me unjustly. Her. I hear thee raving, no slight ail. Pr. Aye, I should ail, if ail one's foes to hate. Her. If prosperous, thou couldst not be born. Pr. Ah me! Her. This word Zeus does not know. Pr. But time growing old teaches all things. Her. And still thou know'st not yet how to be prudent. Pr. For I should not converse with thee a servant. Her. Thou seemst to say naught which the Father wishes. Pr. And yet his debtor I'd require the favour. Her. Thou mock'st me verily, as if I were a child. Pr. And art thou not a child, and simpler still than this, if thou expectest to learn aught from me? There is not outrage nor expedient by which Zeus will induce me to declare these things. Before he loose these grievous bonds, let there be hurled then flaming fire, and the white‐winged snows and thunders of the earth, let him confound and mingle all, for none of these will bend me till I tell by whom 'tis necessary he should fall from sovereignty. Her. Consider now if these things seem helpful. Pr. Long since these were considered and resolved. Her. Venture, O vain one, venture at length, in view of present sufferings to be wise. Pr. In vain you vex me, as a wave, exhorting. Ne'er let it come into thy mind that I, fearing Zeus' anger, shall become woman‐minded, and beg him, greatly hated, with womanish upturnings of the hands, to loose me from these bonds. I am far from it. Her. Though saying much, I seem in vain to speak, for thou art nothing softened nor appeased by prayers, but champing at the bit like a new‐yoked colt, thou strugglest and contend'st against the reins. But thou art violent with feeble wisdom. For stubbornness to him who is not wise, itself alone is less than nothing strong. But consider, if thou art not persuaded by my words, what storm and triple surge of ills will come upon thee, not to be avoided. For first this rugged cliff with thunder and lightning flame the father'll rend, and hide thy body, and a strong arm will bury thee. When thou hast spent a long length of time, thou wilt come back to light, and Zeus's winged dog, a bloodthirsty eagle, ravenously shall tear the great rag of thy body, creeping an uninvited guest all day, and banquet on thy liver black by eating. Of such suffering expect not any end, before some god appear, succeeding to thy labours, and wish to go to rayless Hades and the dark depths of Tartarus. Therefore deliberate, since this is not made boasting, but in earnest spoken. For to speak falsely does not know the mouth of Zeus, but every word he does. So look about thee and consider, nor ever think obstinacy better than prudence. Chorus. To us indeed Hermes appears to say not unseasonable things. For he directs thee, leaving off self‐will, to seek prudent counsel. Obey, for it is base to err for a wise man. Prometheus. To me, foreknowing these messages, he has uttered. But for a foe to suffer ill from foes is naught unseemly. Therefore 'gainst me let there be hurled fire's double‐pointed curl, and air be provoked with thunder, and a tumult of wild winds, and earth from its foundations let a wind rock in its very roots, and with a rough surge mingle the sea waves with the passages of the heavenly stars, and to black Tartarus let him quite cast down my body by necessity's strong eddies. Yet after all he will not kill me. Hermes. Such words and counsels you may hear from the brain struck. For what lacks he of being mad? And if prosperous, what does he cease from madness? Do you, therefore, who sympathize with this one's suffering, from these places quick withdraw somewhere, lest the harsh billowing thunder stupefy your minds. Chorus. Say something else, and exhort me to some purpose, for surely thou hast intolerably abused this word. How direct me to perform a baseness? I wish to suffer with him whate'er is necessary. For I have learned to hate betrayers, nor is the pest which I abominate more than this. Hermes. Remember then what I foretell, nor by calamity pursued blame fortune, nor e'er say that Zeus into unforeseen ill has cast you. Surely not, but yourselves, you yourselves. For knowing, and not suddenly nor clandestinely, you'll be entangled through your folly in an impassable net of woe. Prometheus. Surely indeed, and no more in word earth is shaken, and a hoarse sound of thunder bellows near, and wreaths of lightning flash out fiercely blazing, and whirlwinds dust whirl up, and leap the blasts of all winds 'gainst one another, blowing in opposite array, and air with sea is mingled. Such impulse against me from Zeus, producing fear, doth plainly come. O revered mother, O ether, revolving common light to all, you see me, how unjust things I endure. End of Part 3, recording by expatriate in Bangor, Maine. End of Prometheus Bound by Aeschylus, translated by Henry David Thoreau, 1817 to 1862.